Now, I started out life as a therapist, a head shrinker. And when I worked with clients, they would come in and they always wanted two things. They wanted more happiness in their life and they wanted better results in their life. And they were often convinced that in order to get happy or in order to get better results, that something needed to change in their circumstances. They needed a new spouse, or they needed, a boarding school for their teenage child, or they needed more money or a different boss, a different job. And they were very convinced that the reason they weren't succeeding was because of their circumstances. And my entire job as a counselor was to help them understand that your circumstances are never the reason you can't succeed. They are simply the reality in which you must succeed. And most people were not happy or were not getting the results they wanted because they hadn't yet learned some simple rules. They weren't yet following some universal truths. And so I worked hard as a therapist to teach people some of these rules. Once they learned the rules, got fluent in the rules, their lives changed. It was the fast track to happiness and results. So, for instance, one of the rules that people were completely shocked by when they found out was simply that suffering is completely optional. Most people had never thought this through. See, suffering is completely optional. If I open up a full schedule today, I've got a choice. I can go through it with joy or misery, my choice. But most people, when we open up a full schedule, we go, crap, must suffer. We do a lot of self-imposed suffering. We look at our schedule and there's a meeting at 1. It's only 8 in the morning, but we choose to pre-suffer. We go, oh my gosh, I know it's only 8, but I got a meeting with Ron at 1. It's just gonna suck. We post-suffer. People are like, today's great. And you're like, yep, but remember last Thursday, do not forget, I know it's over, but remember how that went, right? And then we share our suffering. If you walk by with a smile on your face, I go, evidently you haven't read the email because you would not be smiling. Why don't you go read your email so we can suffer together? Anybody a little guilty of? And when I talk to people about suffering, they go, you don't understand, Si. If you had my job, you'd suffer too. If you had my boss, you'd suffer too. And it's mind-boggling to me how freeing it can be when people learn that suffering is completely optional, their choice. And in fact, I went on to prove, and I will show you, that engagement is a choice. So is accountability. So is taking the high road, giving people the benefit of the doubt. So is teamwork. It's not something you need to be taught. It's a choice.